CM Punk is the current AEW World Heavyweight Champion. He won the title at the pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. So CM Punk has done it. It was great.
That's
People were crying. He was having a great moment. It's a cool story. Hangman did a great job as champion. They both together had a phenomenal match. CM Punk had a couple, he was trying to hit Hangman's finisher on Hangman and kept on screwing up. He couldn't do it just right, but I was like, it is what it is. Shit happens. Overall, it was an amazing match. A lot of people were happy to see CM Punk win, but the crowd was very back and forth. I love seeing a crowd like that where they're both getting cheered, they're both getting booed. I feel like that's always the most fun when you don't have one decisive, clear favorite, especially when you have two baby faces going in. So kudos to CM Punk and Hangman for having a phenomenal match. So with that out the way, I will talk about the pay-per-view a little bit more, but I just want to talk about the Best of the Super Juniors 2022 for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Last week I gave a few predictions as to who's going to make it to the finals in Block A and in Block B. I threw a couple names out there. And, of course, names that I chose have made it into the finals. That's winner of Block A is currently Hiromu Takahashi. The winner of Block B is El Desperado. So, and it's funny, the people that I said were going to also get there, they got second place in each one of those blocks. Nice. So we got Takahashi and Desperado. Last year, Hiromu was the winner of the Super Junior, and he had to fight Desperado at Wrestle Kingdom, their version of WrestleMania. They had a very good match, and Desperado came out on top. Personally, I would like to see El Desperado win this. I don't know if he's going to, but fuck it. That's my prediction. El Desperado, winner of the Super Junior, Best of the Super Junior for 2022, BOSJ. That's my prediction. Let's see if I'm right. With that going on, I also want to talk about the Forbidden Door pay-per-view with AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling that's coming up. The next big major pay-per-view, unless you want to count WWE's. I don't even know what the fuck it is. I think it's Hell in a Cell this Sunday. I don't know. They're doing some shit over there. But, no, they're going to have a really good match between Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. It's going to be phenomenal. So Forbidden Door is happening, and CM Punk's opponent has been revealed. He will be going up against the Ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Literally, that's his nickname, the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. The man who put New Japan on his fucking back for years and brought it to the prominence that it is today. So having
is he the one that was didn't want contracts?
No, that's Kota Ibushi.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, Tanahashi, he's a little bit older. He's about the same age as Punk, I'd say. He's not the top guy now. That's pretty much Okada or maybe Naito or Shingo even. But, it's... Tanahashi was that guy. Think of it as a John Cena status. That's Tanahashi in New Japan. So having him up against Punk is going to be fucking just badass. Just two legends going at it. And I don't know if it's official, but supposedly we're going to get Hangman Adam Page, the guy who just lost the belt, going up against Kazuchika Okada, who I just said is the top guy in New Japan. So that should be another great match going on there. Another thing I need to talk about, which is probably the biggest deal. Strike that. So for the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view, a couple things happened. One thing I want to mention was the Anarchy in the Arena match, where you had Jericho's new faction, which is literally called the Jericho Appreciation Society, was going up against the Blackpool Battle Club, I think it's referred to as, William Regal's faction. And we also had LAX's Santana and Ortiz and Eddie Kingston. This match was no rules. Jericho's crew came out looking like the Backstreet Boys, and it was amazing. They all had all white, and then they had the backwards Kangol hats. I was like, this is just amazing. So they came out, and then everybody else comes out to Jon Moxley's music, which is Wild Thing. Wild Thing, and it's playing through the arena, and they're all coming out of the crowd. While they're coming out, they just straight up start fighting. And I fucking skipped one of the best parts. The announcer, when he announced it, there's the next match is for whatever. He literally was just ladies and gentlemen, this shit's about to go down. It was just great. Or he said shit's about to hit the fan. And then they start fighting. And as they're fighting throughout the entire arena, in the crowd, they're all over. Maybe two guys were in the ring. And then the other 8 were everywhere else. Moxley's music kept playing throughout the whole thing. as like an homage to New Jack back in the day in ECW. So as they're fighting, you just hear a wild thing playing throughout the arena. Everybody's losing their minds. Like at one point, somebody stabs somebody else with a fucking fork, and they're just making them bleed. Later on, like barbed wire shows up into the match. Moxley goes through barbed wire. People are going off of ladders, through tables. They're fighting in the concourse. One guy got covered in mustard. It was just pure chaos. At one point in the match, Eddie Kingston, he's fighting Daniel Garcia and one of the 2.0 guys, can't remember which one, in one of those like elevator things that you have like in the arena, not like an official elevator, like one of the, what's the term I'm looking for? Like one of the behind the scenes, like they use anyway, it's a fucking service elevator, I think it's called. And they go in that shit and he just disappears. You don't see them again. Like they just went into the elevator and they were gone. The match continues happening. Later on, Bryan Danielson, after he's broken the ring and the top rope is just fallen, or Moxley broke the top rope, so the ring only had 2 ropes at this point. Everyone's covered in blood, and he's trying to put Jericho in a submission hold to make him tap. Eddie Kingston somehow emerges out of the service elevator with a gas can of gasoline, and then he just goes covered in blood. He could barely see out of one eye. He pours gasoline all over Chris Jericho, and he starts lighting a lighter. He's getting ready to burn him. And then his partner, Bryan Danielson, smacks the lighter in his hand. They get into a fight. And then eventually Jericho Appreciation Society takes advantage and they win the match. But this match was pure chaos. Like, so much happened. A man was almost set on fire. Like, nice. It was so good. And they, this past week on AEW Dynamite, they set up their next match. It's going to be Blood and Guts, which is one of the most violent matches there is in AEW. So we can't wait to see that.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. It's essentially 2 cages meshed together, and you fight like to the death. So it should be good.
Some gladiator shit.
Last time they did it, Jericho got thrown off the top of the cage after he quit. But it's a whole thing. So that happened, and so we had a couple other good matches. We had the debut of Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon in WWE. Athena is now in AEW. So is Stokely Hathaway, potentially one of the greatest talkers in all of pro wrestling. He finally left WWE, and he's now in AEW. This past Wednesday, we had the return of Miro, the Redeemer, formerly known as Rusev in WWE. Now, one theme that I just said here, all these people were in WWE, right? That leads me to my last story here, probably the biggest one. So MJF, he's like the most despised heel in pro wrestling. He's just that fucking good at being a bad guy. During the Fan Fest, which was like a meet and greet before the pay-per-view started this past Sunday, he no-showed us autograph signing. He didn't show up. Everyone's like, that's kind of fucked up. Why didn't he show up? And then people found him in a casino because they were in Vegas just playing fucking casino games. They're like, he's supposed to be at a meet and greet. What the fuck's he doing? And everyone's like, that's weird. And then news reports came out that he booked a flight before the show was supposed to start to Newark, New Jersey from Las Vegas. And for the past couple of weeks, there have been rumblings that Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, and MJF have had issues with each other. And MJF, because there's no scripted promos in AEW, they say whatever they want to say. He's alluded to the fact multiple times that in 2024, when his contract's up, he might not stay in AEW. So with that going on, plus all this happening, everyone's like, oh shit, is he going to show up to the pay-per-view? Because he had a big profile match. So it's like nobody knew until like right before the pay-per-view started. We knew for a fact he was coming. Apparently he showed up towards the end of the pre-show, and they put him on first. He went in there, he got his ass beat, and then they put him in a stretcher after he got beat. That's known as a stretcher job in wrestling. Kayfabe corner for you. A lot of times, if somebody's on their way out, they have the person get beat so fucking bad so that they could take him off of TV and write him off in scripts. So he does a stretcher job, and everyone's like
injury. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, oh injury. Shit, he might actually be out. Like MJF might be done. He's like this young up and comer. He's gonna be the fucking future of wrestling. He's that fucking good. And everyone's like, oh no. And then there's like, is he gonna be on Dynamite this Wednesday? Nobody knew until Wednesday. They're like, MJF is gonna be there and he's gonna speak. Everyone's like, okay, what's he gonna say? So then he goes out, and this is after Punk has his moment and everything. He had a match, and then he's revealed to fight Tanahashi. MJF goes out, and he's just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to fucking be here anymore. And he just starts going off in the mic, like, to the crowd. He's like, there's a bunch of TV execs here. We just had the merger with TNT and Warner Brothers and Discovery and all that shit. You have all these investors here in the crowd. It'd be a real shame for Tony Khan if somebody just started talking shit and making his night look bad, wouldn't it? And he just starts going off. He's like, you know what? I'm out here. I've proven that I'm the second biggest draw in the company behind CM Punk, and that's just because you've promoted him more, but I'm the fucking backbone of this company. I've been carrying it for fucking years. And I know I could go anywhere else and make them the best company ever. And he just goes off. He's like, you know what? And I just want to get a little bit more money for my contract. But no, Tony Khan can't go in his pockets because he has to keep paying these fucking ex-WWE guys. And he just, like, he's just going off. At one point, he just goes into the mic and he's just like, you know what? I don't want to fucking be here. Fire me. Fucking fire me. I want to get out. They cut off his mic. He throws it. They cut to a commercial. They come back. They don't even talk about it. The commentators don't even mention it. And it was good. So I'm pretty sure it was scripted. It was like it was a work shoot.
He pulled the Punk.
Thank you, Eslam. He pulled his own pipe bomb. Yep.
Yeah.
So
he pulled the Punk.
Funk was famous for doing that in WWE. He did do it before he went to WWE in Ring of Honor back in the day. And everyone's just like, they're setting up for MJF to fucking become champion. They're setting it up so that MJF is going to be like, you know what? I'm the fucking best guy here. I'm going to beat Punk for the title, and I'm going to take the belts.
AEW or WWE?
AEW. That's what a lot of people are thinking, because that's exactly what they did with CM Punk. So in the WWE version, Punk's contract was really going to end for real, and he was like, I don't want to be here. He did his big speech. Then they were just like, okay, his speech got so much traction, we have to put him in the title thing. And they're like, okay, what's going to happen? He beats John Cena for the belts, and his contract really ended. And then they're just like, CM Punk is their champion, and he doesn't work for WWE. Then they renegotiated, they brought him back. So MJF could do the same thing. It's like, I'm going to beat the fucking guy. I'm going to beat the guy who did this, CM Punk. I'm going to be your champion, and I'm fucking taking this belt to your competition. I'm taking the AEW championship to WWE. And that's just great storytelling.
Interesting.
Like,
it is.
And MJF is like one of the guys that can definitely pull that off very well. So it was great. It was great. So that's definitely the biggest story coming out of everything. So we'll see. We'll see where MJF is going from here. He's going to be fun to watch.